All I'm doing is dropping. Look, I'm just dropping. I'm dropping my heel in. That's it. It didn't even count as a note, so you don't have to go, right? You just go. Pretend you're 77 years old, lazy. You're close enough. variations. We're talking Kawanga here.
That was fucking sick.
Okay.
Yeah, that was sweet.
That was sick.
We're gonna take it up a notch.
What
okay?
do you call the sensation where it's like,
That's
it's like, yeah, dude, it's like that.
just riding the
Yeah,
circle.
you're just like perfectly
It's moving around.
What is that?
That. It's in the formula. They didn't think this out and break it down and with notes and notations and pulses and X's and stuff. They found the melody line and then went, that's it. Just like in the studio with Special Fun, we'd always jam before we ever start practicing anything we wrote. And then somebody go, wait a minute, click. Okay? And then we stop, we try to freeze it, and we try to figure out how all the parts, and we put the parts down here like this, and then we got a new song. Okay? Then we practice it. Okay, now we need a break, right? In the song, whatever. Okay? And it's this kind of, you take a look at the formula, and there's certain aspects of the universals that when they're applied, they just actually go, and now your turn. And now your turn. Now, what they did here is they put the heel tip in here, okay? Go, do, go, do, go, do, go, good, do, go, touch, go, do, good, go, do, touch, go, do. The bottom part, simple part, is good, go, good, go, good. But actually, you can go good, go, do, touch, go, do, good, go, do, touch, go, do, depending on the melody line that you want to create. The second part is what normally would be recognized by any djembe player as a passport rhythm. There's about 7 of them, right? And this is one of the basics. Go to pop, 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 go to pop, 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 go to pop, 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 go to pop, pop, pop. Okay? There it is, passport. Okay? Pop, 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 go to pop, 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 go to pop, pop, pop. Let's all play it. It's standard to the one, right? To the one, da-da, to the one. Nigerian, good, 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 good. This is Nigerian bottom, okay? I know 7 of them at least because I played with a Nigerian high-line orchestra, and more than half of the reasons I was playing was right, the one, okay? All right, and so it's the spots of what in Senegambia and West Africa, they say, oh, that's a passport rhythm. Because you're going to find that in lots. It'll get you around West Africa. Even though there's different kinds of djembe playing being done in Liberia versus Ghana versus whatever. Okay? If you go, okay, you're in. Hey, come here, brother.
Yeah,
that's not quite right. There's one more note you have to add for our culture here. That kind of stuff. It's the same thing as the story I told you. I was doing a kind of a clavier-oriented rhythm, and they thought I was playing their music. So how did you learn our music, right? Passport rhythm. Okay? Except, guess what? It's in Nigeria. Okay? Not West African djembe, but you will find it all over the djembe world. The heel tips are there's so many variations of what you can do with the heel tip, and different cultures deal with them different ways. And that's where you got Afro-Cuban music. Okay? The Wolonko and all that kind of stuff. Where'd it come from? Benin, Togo, Nigeria. Mixed into Cuba. And then developed, okay, underground, and then came out as rumba. Okay? And there's your heel tip. Okay? And here's, so there's lots of different, yeah? Lots of different ways of using the heel tip, but the heel tip is not one style or one way. Okay? And this introduces you to muff, right? Muff slaps. Not muff slaps, I'm sorry, but heel tip. Heel slaps. Okay? So we got passport. You've got the heel tip. got the bottom. Now skip one of those. Good toe, good toe, good toe, good toe, good toe. Feel it.
perfectly intentional by everybody.
Yeah.
What's that called? Nago?
Nago.
That was dope.
No, I'm sorry. Yes, it is Nago.
Nago.
Nago. Actually, Nago from Nigeria.
Is that pre-Lego?
Okay. Pre-Lego, absolutely. For the Fon tribe, the Fun tribe. Fon tribe. Dahuni people. Okay, the Dahuni people in Nigeria, they're deeper up the Niger. The Niger River goes like this, makes a left-hand turn, and just goes right parallel to the coast, all the way, basically past Timbuktu.
That's in deep.
Yeah, because Timbuktu used to be a forest.
That's right.
And there was a big lake next to it. And now it's right in the middle of the desert. And that's cutting down all the trees to make chimneys for white boys, right? That's part of it. That's what I worked with Baba Fundi on that one for a while. Okay, and finally got
Bali.
Huh?
And enter Indonesian drums.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, but they were using what we call Asian oak. They wasn't necessarily using African woods.
No, they're not. They're tearing up those islands for that wood.
Yeah.
Crazy, I think.
Yeah.
That's
So
ages
we're deforesting part of our planet because of the drum thing. So
that's where Remo comes in.
yeah, it's where Remo comes in.
Yeah.
I finally convinced Paula. The story behind that, I got 10 minutes, is he's still here. He's still making drums, fiberglass djembes. And he was part of my crew. I can't remember his name. He's into working with fiberglass and iron. He bent all the rims for Westcliff percussion drums.
Yep. Okay.
At first. And Bob would come to town on a regular basis. We would do that tour right around July. We'd always meet at Esalen and do a program. Bob was already there ahead of time doing the family program, and then the band would show up, and then we'd always do a program on 4th of July in Esalen, and then start our tour there and go up, or maybe down and then back up. Okay. So we do that. The boy shows up and he brings in, he's so proud of his fiberglass djembe, and he brings it in and he presents it to Baba. Sets it down. And in those days, Baba looked at that and just, what's that? You're old enough to remember in the music magazines, the drum magazines, the picture of the guy who's got a drink in his hand and his long hair is flowing backwards, and there's a speaker there blowing.
Oh, the Maxwell.
Yeah. That's what Ron. I'm close to his name, but I don't know if that's his name. That's what Ron looked like after Baba flamed the poor guy. Because with Baba, it was spirit of the wood, okay, spirit of the animal skin, and spirit of the player, okay, and then you. It's a sacred thing, right? I mean, the people in the early days who would go cut down a tree, they would pour a little libation and thank the tree for all of its whatever, and they would make a drum out of some of it, right, out of the tree, the heart of the tree, and use the rest of the wood for the village, so on and so forth. And literally, the Sahara Desert was encroaching south by a measurable distance every single year, because less and less trees were around. People were using trees for everything, okay? And it literally increased when djembes became popular in the United States. It took me a few years to convince Baba about that. So that Remo was doing a good thing. He's taking recycled wood, literally, and turning it into what they call acousticon. And that's one less drum coming out and one less tree being cut down somewhere. Okay? Finally got to the point where, okay, all right, I'll design a drum for Remo and endorse it. Okay? Every single submission, I got the two together at a couple of different places so they could sit down and talk. Every single design would look like this that Baba was making. and submitting, and they came to me and said, what are we going to do? And I said, well, put Baba's name on it. Okay. And before that happened, okay, I was the caretaker for Baba's fucking logs. Those big, huge, standing in gomas, carved with the eyes in it this high, right? Yeah. And every time they'd come to the West Coast, they would tell me, what's broken this time, where the crack is. I have to cinch the thing up again, and what peg, which peg of what. So I've got the measurements of each peg on the drum, so I can carve it down to that peg for that side of that drum.
Could carve it down.
Right, literally. Okay, and most of the time they bring the drum to me, but this time they had a special gig in L.A. The drum was not fixable. Okay, I'd have to take it, put it in the truck, drive it up to Santa Cruz, fix it. Okay, and there's just no time, and I got something, and I took one of these. Okay, and I took two of them. Okay, and put them in the Remo boxes and stuff like that, and I've learned how to work this out, but I know better. I did it in front of the band at a rehearsal,
right?
Not in front of 80 people.
1,000. Yeah. Right.
So he goes, "What is this?" It's like, please, Baba. And we've been having these conversations, and I said, "This will cover you for the tour," and he took them. You didn't flame me. I didn't have that. Okay. And two of these Remo drums went on the tour.
Those are hard as fuck. Peg drums, they're the ones that we care for.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, but just take that and times it by 100.
Yeah, I
These
know.
two fuckers were 50
yeah.
pounds each.
Yeah.
The drums.
Yeah.
Of course, every one of your drums is 50 pounds. Okay? All right. And so when it came time for Baba to get an endorsement with Remo,
Overhead
he just
presses,
put his name on that, and he got the royalties for about 7 or 8 years before he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Story
what's
of
the
that drum.
distinction between
Yeah.
an ngoma and a shiko?
Oh.
The what?
What's
What's the
a
difference?
shiko drum and an ngoma drum? What's the distinction between them?
Shiko's a female variation of a djembe.
Slap you. No. I like that. I like the term. Female is kind of like a softer version of a djembe. I like that.
Yeah.
You're going to find straight-sided wood drums all over Africa. Right. Different sizes, different lengths. The actual ashiko, that's a Nigerian word, is a pegged drum that is